Amazing Outdoors podcast, everyone. This is episode 40. Wow. 40 within a year about. Crazy to think we almost made 12 off of one a week. From a year ago, it's crazy to think that we had that many podcasts. A lot of interesting conversation, great folks. Thanks so much to everyone who's been on the show and been part of the organization. Growing here, if you want to call it that. Before we get a little long-winded potentially here this evening, afternoon, morning, whenever it is you're tuning into this fine show, I want to say thank you to a few people. Scott Anderson, the guest of this particular episode. Big thank you, Scott. You helped me along the way with a little bit of guidance in a few things. So more than you know, thank you so much for opening up the doors to your place out there in Kansas. And I had an absolute ball and a great time with you and Joe and Tyler. And that leads me to another thank you, Tyler. Absolute blessings upon you and your family. Thank you so much. You've been a godsend and a lifesaver for me in Kansas this year. And out of it all, we've, I think, developed a fairly good friendship. So I'm blessed to have you in the Rolodex of people I would call friends. And thank you very much for all you did for me this year with lending me your Jeep and sharing some great times on some good pieces of property, and got me onto a little private land, so and some good private land, some great hunting. So thank you so much, both Scott, Tyler, and Joe. It was a pleasure to meet you. Quick note about sponsorships. I guess I should say thanks to Marilyn, thanks to Mike Wagner, thanks to Benny for coming down on the first episode, escapade, I should say, where we had to leave the truck in Kansas. And again, thanks for everybody who helped me along that way. And it's been fun getting to know some new people and kind of being forced to downshift into a different gear that I normally don't take on hunting trips. And I guess Todd Freeman as well. He's going to be coming up in the next upcoming episode. But, thanks again, bro. It's been great getting to know you. And all you folks have kind of been a little bit of a godsend and some kicks in the ass for me, at least in some certain areas of my life. And I appreciate everything you guys have done. So thank yous are over. On to a quick shout out for Pat. She is the single and only Patreon subscriber. She's a Patreon of this very here podcast. I want to give her a quick shout out. She's been a patron now for, I think, about 3 months. So thank you very much. I'm not sure what the rest of you listeners are doing. Little nudge there. However, I did change a bunch of stuff over there as a kind of couple failed attempts. And hey, I'm not some social media whiz kid here. I'm barely can run this podcast. So I struggled a little bit as I tried to fit this into the place it needed to be in the podcast and my life. So I've restructured patrons, Peter, Paul, Piper, Pat. We're going to have a little bit of an issue with this over the course of getting used to calling these shout outs and using these particular phrases, but I want you guys to consider becoming a patron of this show. And the reason I'm making this pitch to you guys before I'm mentioning any of the other sponsors really is because I want to develop a relationship with my listeners. I want to reward them for listening to the show, and not necessarily in that kind of image that you might think, but hear me out here. I can go around and call all these brands and, try to develop relationships. And at the end of the day, they do the same thing with everybody else that's got a podcast. And I'm not really getting any deals. And at the end of the day, I don't really want to waste that energy to produce very little value. And nothing against Uplnd Outfitters or SportDog. They're great. And I do intend to continue the slog of trying to develop better relationships in a marketing fashion for these companies. But I think the true value in all of this is being able to have supporters of the show that I can kind of pool together and say, hey, I got real loyal listeners here. I think we can be a little bit different than all the other podcasters. So I've got some things rolling around in my head. I've got a whiteboard here at home of where this could go, but it can't go anywhere without you guys and gals. So head on over there, check it out. I'm asking literally for people's support. It's going to cost you less than a tank of gas in some parts of the country and world, depending on where this is listened to. It is a worldwide listened to podcast, which just blows me away, and I'm kind of humbled about it. So thank you for all that. However, it's going to cost you less than a tank of gas, or a tank of gas for sure. It's going to cost you less than a gallon of gas, probably less than your Starbucks cup of coffee. And I know for sure where I'm at, it costs me way less than 2 gallons of diesel. So consider it. It's $5 a month. You get into a VIP level. Once we get a few people in here, I'm going to be able to do more and continually add more to these Patreon packages for patrons. I think I got that one okay. So I want you to head over to Patreon, check it out. I'm kind of pleading a little bit and getting long-winded here. But the bottom line is I want to develop a relationship directly with you so we have something to leverage to go to these manufacturers and products and brands and really maybe even drive change long term if we can get a lot of people behind this. And then I want to take this in a fashion where you guys have input on both where the show goes, who's on the show. Maybe you guys have some input and somebody is cool in your Rolodex that would fit well with the show. I want to be able to have that relationship with you listeners, and this will afford me that platform as well as a place to release more personal content and be able to have a place too where we can possibly get together on a Zoom call once in a while. We can talk about specific subjects, maybe specific areas of states, specific birds, more in-depth stuff. People maybe stuff closer to the lines of what people would think of hotspotting on a podcast. And people are hesitant to talk about anything specific on a podcast, and I want to intend these kind of conversations and get together with the listeners and patrons to be a lot more unveiling than how some other people want to be publicly on a podcast. Outside of that, I have a ton of videos and footage and it's just stuff that I don't get to edit that I don't want to put out on my Instagram page. And I think some of you might find some value and funniness in it. Furthermore, and I guess finally here, if we can get people into this, I would like to do a couple patron outings every year, a fishing outing or two, maybe a woodcock hunt, maybe a Kansas quail camp. Who knows? Maybe we'll just go out and try to tackle Montana with a few people that are aggressive enough. this can go really anywhere, but again, I can't stress this enough. It can't go anywhere without you listeners and supporters of this show. So head on over to Patreon. Consider being a patron. If you become a patron now, you'll get an entry for February into a drawing that is going to be given away in May or June for a pair of Uplnd Outfitter pants. I need about 10 or 20 of you folks to get in for a month or two, and I'll kick in the rest of the money, and we'll pay full price because I believe in that kind of crap from Jason, and we'll buy a pair of pants, and I'll give it away to one of you guys. Hell, if we get enough people, we'll do it for 2. I'm not going to take a profit from this. This is about putting it back into producing a better, higher quality, better content show and giving back to my supporters of the show that are going to help me propel onto the next level. So I can't say anymore. I've gone 11 minutes here. Thank you so much. Check out Patreon. Uplnd Outfitters, if you still want to support Jason and buy a pair of these pants, you can still get 20% off with discount code AMAZEN, AMAAZEN. SportDog brand, check them out. I've been running their collar system all year. Came off Garmin. It's been very impressive. I'm not going to get into long-winded stuff with SportDog tonight. I'm going to try to get Clay Thompson back on so we can chat a little bit more bird hunting with Clay. Episode 40, Patriots for Praise. Check them out. Information in the show notes. They are a chapter, whatever, 501c3 nonprofit organization. They thrive off of donations and survive off of donations. If you like what you hear here on the podcast with Scott and I, consider donating a little bit to Scott. He is a small organization that absolutely is entangled with faith, the outdoors, and veterans. So, Scott, welcome to the Amazing Outdoors podcast, man. I appreciate you hosting me tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
It's gotten a little late, but dinner was really good.
Yeah. It felt good to eat home food, right?
And sit at a table with some guy, basically family style. I haven't done that in, like I said, a couple months at home.
Right.
It's been a little difficult to get everybody around in the kitchen at the kitchen table because it's not quite all set up right.
Right.
But no, it was a really nice time. So I did a little quail hunt today, not much, but got to see some. What county was that? Was it
Ness County? Probably.
No, yeah,
or Rush,
something like that.
Rush County,
Rush or Ness County, over that way. So marked off a couple new ones today.
Cool.
It was cool. I always like exploring a little bit with new counties in Kansas.
You have to clean your gun tonight?
I've only shot once, so I'm not a religious gun cleaner. I'm not ex-military.
If I don't shoot, I don't have to clean my gun. So
I one shots. That goes back in the case.
Yeah.
If I shoot a half a box of shells, I definitely will shoot or clean it. But
Yeah.
I don't rock one of those really expensive side by sides. It's just a cheap one. Now I will say though, I had my 28 gauge out, and if I shot my 20 gauge, which was an excuse to buy another side guy side because it's my wife's gun, and I've definitely shot it more than she has. But
the 28 gauge,
20 gauge,
20 gauge.
Yeah, I bought that one before I got introduced to the 28 gauge caliber, and probably would have bought a 28 gauge for her had I known that.
Yeah, I know. Like with the ammo lately, there at first, everything was gone and all you could find was 28 gauge, and it was cheap. And I thought, man, I need to go buy one.
Yeah, good luck.
So
now.
I got something to shoot, but I never did.
Well, you can still actually find 28 gauge now, which I'm kind of surprised about, but it's all kind of off caliber or off shot sizes that I don't really use. That's kind of like pretty much what it is for any caliber of shotgun right now.
I like 16 gauge. That's what, if I'm going to carry a gun, that's what I carry.
I was telling Tyler that we've got a hidden background guest who might pipe in a little bit, but he's at the table, so I'm going to make a mention, but I'm staying here with Tyler, and we were talking about shotguns last night, and I had a firing pin kind of just did quirks on me a little bit with that gun. And I told my wife, I said, don't buy anything for me. No trinkets. No, you go to, Walgreens. I don't need nothing. I got Valentine's Day, birthday, anniversary, Christmas coming up. I need you to combine all those together because I need a new 28 gauge. But I told him, I was looking at him, and there's a I think it's TriStar has these, right. I would call them entry level American kind of side by sides. I think they're made over in Spain or something like that. And I have a TriStar right now, and I really like it. But they came out with these newer ones with straight English stock, and they're running them in 12, 20, 16. 12, 16, 20, 28, and 410.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. So I said, we might have to get a 410, a 28, and a 16.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't buy the gun and just switch out the barrels, right?
Well, there's some, I think if I went to like a Beretta, you could buy the 2-barrel set, but right. The entry level on a side-by-side for a Beretta is almost $5,000. I know I can't do it.
Right.
I've heard these guys talk about, these English guns, and, they toss around $100,000 like it's nothing. And I'm sorry, but it's a whole different world to me. I need a gun I can carry out in the field.
Right.
Anything up much over $1,500, I'm going to start sweating it, when I carry it in the field. I got a lot of crap from my wife the first time I brought her shotgun back after using it because it was all scratched up. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I have a 16 gauge downstairs. It's a old Winchester. It's like a 1945 model side by side.
Oh,
and I love hunting with it. It's scratched up. It was cheap, but it shoots great. It's light. It's fun.
So you're a side by side guy?
Oh yeah. And then I found an old. I'm into old guns, so I got an old Sweet 16 Browning.
Yeah, it's a really nice gun.
I hunt with it a lot. My grandson told me it's his now, but we're going to have to arm wrestle over that or something. But I like both those. But that side by side, there's just something makes it fun.
It's just my uncle shot him when I was younger, and he just always talked about it. Once I got into bird hunting, I didn't really think of anything else. Right. And I was actually using a semi-automatic the first season, and I had a buddy of mine that said, "Hey, I got this. I'm a lefty, and this is a cast for a righty, and I can't hit the broadside of the barn with this thing. You want it?" Yeah, what the hell? And I haven't looked back since. I haven't carried a 12 gauge in 6 years.
Right. I have some. I just use the 16s.
Yeah. If I had a 16, I'd probably, that caliber's a really nice mix, especially for pheasants. I get into a lot of grouse and woodcock up north where I really like that a little bit smaller caliber. And then down here, I don't feel undermanned with a 28 gauge if I get a pheasant that gets up in a reasonable range. But the 16 is that nice balance.
Yeah. I had this, it was a Vietnam veteran showed up here, and he showed up with his grandfather's single shot 410. And that guy killed birds all day long. We were all pretty humbled and had a lot of fun with him because he one shot, one kill. It was a done deal.
There's something to be said for when you only have one shot.
Right.
You really do make it count.
Right.
I've oftentimes wondered what it would be like to carry around a single shot, and I've ran across a few of those single shot 410s in the gun shops before, and I have almost pulled the trigger on buying one, but I don't know. I think they're a great little round, and I keep trying to tell my wife that I think she'd really like that round, and even just going out to shoot clays, because she didn't grow up around shotguns like I did. I mean, in Wisconsin, they give you a flipping beer and a shotgun when you're born, pretty much. So I don't know. I've always, I guess, expected more out of her, and not really taken the time to start from that base level, because I don't even know where to start with her.
Right.
Part of that too is we're husband and wife, that the back and forth that we were talking about that earlier.
Right,
we won't say anything that, either one of our wives are going to cause me extra editing in this podcast tonight. But, it's husband or wife. My wife and I, there's certain things where she'll get frustrated way quicker. And then when she gets frustrated, I get frustrated because I'm not teaching her right. And it's not coming out of my mouth right. I'm hoping she's got a crystal ball and she can read what the hell's in my mind, and anyways, the whole shooting thing has always been a little bit of a challenge. And we got these pointing dogs and she wants to go hunt, but she doesn't really feel all that comfortable. And the 20 gauge is just, it's almost too much for her. She's a small framed woman, and it's too heavy. The gun itself is too heavy.
Right.
She likes shooting it, but I don't think she could carry it all day long.
Right.
And that's where, I don't know. I think even with kids, I mean, throw a 20 gauge pump on a 9-year-old and carry this around all day.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. We've had, we do a lot of father-son stuff here, and we've kind of said, if they're not 12, probably not going to let them carry a gun because it's a lot.
It is.
And, and they buy them these 12 gauges or 20 gauges, like you say, and when the kids would be a lot better off with just a 410 and have a lot more fun because they can walk all day instead of, by noon they're wanting to climb on a Ranger with me and go block, which is fun too. But I have fun anyway. I don't know if they do, but anytime I can, corrupt somebody's kid and send it home, I shouldn't say it that way, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
We have fun.
And I understand the sarcasm with that too.
Yeah. And so, they just can't do it. Some kids can, but most can't.
And I think too, especially today, it seems like, I don't know, we were talking about this over dinner. I mean, you guys were out driving tractors at that age, and nowadays we couldn't even think of our kids doing it.
Right.
I don't know if it's because they don't do as much as we used to do when we were younger, or not as much responsibility, so they're just a little skinnier or what. But
they got the strongest thumbs.
Yeah, they do.
Of any generation, I think. No.
The strongest thumbs and not very big calves.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my stepson's 25 now, 23. I'm 24 or 25. He's a beanpole.
Yeah.
And I gave him a 6mm rifle when he was 18, and he said, "Let's go. We're going hunting." I mean, even at 18, he was just a freaking beanpole, and I don't know. I knew there's no way even at 12 he wouldn't be able to carry a shotgun like that all day long. So, and then you get with these young kids, you got them walking through thick CRP, and depending on what their ability is and their acumen with the outdoors, you got to discern a bird flying plus all the other orange around. It's tough for young kids, especially depending on what your scenario is. Yeah,
we'll bring in 3 or 4 dads and their sons, and then the hunt's really catered towards the sons more than the dads, and we have some fence rows that we release a lot of birds, and so we set it up so they can try to be successful on their hunt, make it easy. Their dads back them up, and we put out just 1 or 2 dogs so it's not overwhelming, and just let them go have fun. But we also call that our walk of shame. So these soldiers that come in here, and if they have a really bad day, they can't hit anything, we take them to the walk of shame and put them on a youth hunt, and so it's a lot of fun. We've taken some mothers that way too. We want everybody to have fun, and it's not about the hunt. It's about the fun, the experience, and but it is a lot of fun. Anytime you can have fathers and sons out here, and you can watch them and see kids get their first birds with their dads, and it's really cool.
I can relate. I had I was telling you, I guide fishing in the summertime.
Right.
So I had quite a few customers this year. It was actually more grandson and son. But I got a fair amount of them, their first muskies. And just seeing that experience together. And I leave glowing and like ecstatic. I've Rolodexing the whole way home, calling people, we had a great day fishing, I don't know if they were quite that excited. And that's just me, and you can probably relate to this.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of why I mention it is seeing that love for the outdoors that fire get lit.
Right.
I mean, you can see it, and it's neat. You hope they kind of take that experience and propel it maybe as far as you.
Right.
Your love for the outdoors. So.
Yeah, a lot of these guys come here, never hunted pheasants, never hunted upland, or ducks or anything. And so, I've had guys show up here who've never hunted and stop and bought a shotgun. I'm like, no, don't do that. You may not like this. I have I've got guns. You can use my gun, whatever.
Yeah.
Come and experience it, and after they shoot their first pheasant, they're hooked, and just watching them. I mean, I get so much satisfaction out of watching guys have fun and get their first birds, or maybe get their first double, or maybe shoot their first 10 when they shouldn't, and then it's game on for, humiliation. But it's all fun, and I get way more enjoyment out of this than actually hunting myself, and them watching the dogs, and the dogs mess up just like we do every day, and it's exciting for me. I love doing this out here.
Yeah, that's one thing as a hunter. I think all of us need to remember. I think we all put a lot of pressure on our dogs sometimes. I know I'm guilty of it.
Oh, yeah.
They screw up just as much as we do, if not more, or you screw up dealing with them more than they screw up.
Right.
I found that one out the hard way a few times. I got attracted into the uplands because of the camaraderie that I came out as being a deer hunter.
Right.
So I am isolated in the woods.
Right.
And it was the deer camp around before and after the hunt that I really found a lot of the enjoyment out of, sharing the stories of the day and whatnot. Don't get me wrong. I did like the solace and sitting in the tree stand and stuff, but I definitely found a lot of enjoyment at camp. And when I kind of got introduced to upland hunting, it kind of was like, well, this is like camp all day long.
Right.
You know, we're moving from spot to spot. There's camaraderie all day long. And there's just more of an interaction, I think, with the outdoors for me, the way I perceive it, going out there and kind of pursuing the game and not waiting for it to come to you.
Right. We've done a few deer hunts, but like you said, it's really hard to build a relationship with somebody sitting in a tree stand or in a blind, or when you're trying to be quiet, and it's and it's one guy. I can bring 8 to 10 guys in here, and we can pheasant hunt. We can build relationships. We can talk all day, have fun, and it's you're right. It's fun all day long, and and like I said earlier, we release birds, and
let's get into a little bit of that if you don't mind. So, Scott, you guys have some land. You've got some controlled shooting ground here in Kansas,
right?
Maybe just explain to the listeners what controlled shooting is. I've got listeners all over, not just in Kansas, so some people might not understand.
The state of Kansas, well, a lot of states do this. Some states call them preserves. Kansas calls them controlled shooting grounds, and normally they're set up for guys who guide, so they can run their business from September to the end of March, and they can release roosters, hens, quail. Guys release chuckers. We've released chuckers out here. There's no season on chuckers because it's not a native bird.
Sure.
So you can hunt them year round if you want.
Really?
So we release, I raised 1,000 birds this year. 10% of those will be hens, which we'll just release, like we talked about, into the wild in hopes that some of them make it. And we'll do that probably in March when the weather's a little better, so they don't have to worry, maybe fight a snowstorm or whatever.
Brooding season as well. Yeah.
And I release birds. We go out and chase wild birds also, but, the bird numbers have been down, and it's been dry, so it's hard to get on the wild birds. It's hard for the dogs. It's hard for us. And So if you and I go out and walk 10 miles today and we see 4 or 5 birds, maybe shoot once or twice, when we come back in here at dark, we're tired, you're beat up, you're just not defeated, but you're wore out.
Well, and especially for your scenario where you're bringing people in, you're trying to create a positive experience.
Right.
Not everybody's going to perceive that as a positive experience.
Right. That's the reality of pheasant or quail hunting. That's the true hunting. But but if you and I if we stand out in the garage and we clean 30 birds between all of us, we've had a great day. We've had fun. We've built relationships. We've been able to talk smack on each other for. Some guys think they got to shoot as soon as the bird gets up and all they get's a face full of feathers, and you got 5 dogs bringing back
3 parts.
Yeah, and they're eating them on their way back because it's tasty.
That's why another reason why I shoot that 28 gauge.
It's just really, it's a great experience for them. Guys love it, and it's just really worked for us. And
so when you guys do a hunt, you got a handful of guys. Do you guys actually go out and release those birds right before you guys go out?
Right. So I've got 8 guys coming in tomorrow night, and so they'll show up here at 5. We'll feed them dinner. We'll go catch birds out of the pens tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
And then during the regular season, which is now until the 31st of January, Saturday mornings we'll get up and we'll go chase wild birds. I mean, we'll hunt hard trying to get some wild birds.
Sure.
And then after lunch, depending on how we're doing and the weather, if it's hot and dry, and we're not going to get wild birds after lunch hardly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll go release birds. And, some places, sometimes you have to shake them and set them, but I really like on most of our fields, I can pull up. And if the wind's right, I let them fly. I let them fly out into the, the quarter ground or whatever it is. And, 95% of the birds will fly into the right field. There's others that, they want to go behind you or they want to go somewhere else. They go out in the open wheat fields, the green wheat. But most of the birds will fly in, and then you're like hunting a wild bird. The bird hits the ground running. The dogs still got to find them. We still got to hit them, and it's a good time. Guys like that, And
just kind of curious, when you do that, do you find that bird holds in the area pretty well?
No, they're on the move.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly, you got to work for them.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons, I see kind of Kansas is a little different, at least from a preserve kind of hunting area than what I'm used to, is, we have game farms by us is kind of how it's licensed. And very few of them have a substantial amount of land.
Right.
That I was a member of one years back. I think they had 200 acres total of land. And in that 200 acres, there was maybe 6 fields of 40 or about 25 acres apiece, 20 acres apiece, somewhere in there. Maybe a little bit more than maybe 250. But you go out and you got to basically, they shake them up, tuck their wing, and it's not hunting.
Right.
And again, I've said this on the podcast. If that's all you got time for, or that's what gets you outdoors, hey, it's just not the kind of hunting I want to personally do. And more for my dogs than anything.
Right.
But so it's kind of interesting to hear your strategy on how you guys do it and things like that, because I've been at game farms where you got to kick the birds to get them up. And then I've been at other game farms where, they very much act like wild birds.
Right. It's not really perfect some days. Some days you see the birds running out in front of you, and sometimes you got to cook them. Sometimes we got to pick up the tumbleweed to get the wild bird out, because it's sitting so tight. But when we first started out here 5 years ago, I was using a quarter ground west of here, and a friend of mine had it, and he did game hunts, and so he had strips in it. And we'd go plant those strips, and we had a really high success rate.
Sure.
We could go in there and shoot 100%. There might be times where I'm like, how many birds you guys get? And they'll say 4. I'm like, go walk that again, because I know there's 10 birds there. And then they do better the next time, but I quit using that, and because I have more here closer now. This house sits on a section of ground, and we have a great pasture back here, and it's got good cover down in the bottom, and they feed cattle in there, so we don't usually start using it till after the first of the year. And
Sure.
And luckily, the grass the pheasants like, the cows don't.
Oh, nice.
So it works out good, and it's a tough hunt, even releasing birds, because they're cedar trees. So you're trying to shoot around trees. The bird's coming out the wrong side. The dog's flushing it out the wrong side. We lose a lot of birds. But the amazing thing is we find a lot of our, there's a lot of them make it because it is pretty tough hunting. It's tough for predators, and we might pick up birds 3 weeks later, or whatever. But
so how are the birds that you released, are they tagged in some way? Do they have like a ankle bracelet or something?
No,
I
know released birds, and
you can usually tell by their tail feathers.
Well, yeah, this year our tail feathers kind of are bad. Kind of got beat up. We're learning. This is only our second year raising birds, and we had too many weeds, so
sure.
They break their tails off.
Yep.
And they still fly good. They still eat good. They're just not real pretty,
Yeah, there's no big longer.
Yeah, so.
The fly fishermen aren't going to like those particular tails.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to mount that bird. But when we have good birds, if guys want a bird to mount, I find them a good bird to mount,
Sure.
Not one that's been hit 5 times and the dog's brought back, but so yeah, we try to make it as challenging as possible. A lot of these guys, the only way you come back here, you come one time, and if you want to come back, you have to bring guys with you. So you help me serve those guys,
Yeah.
because in life, satisfaction comes out for doing for others, and serving.
Absolutely.
And so I try to encourage that. And we have guys who, bring a lot of guys here, and they come back and help me cook. They help take care of dogs, they plant birds, and drive vehicles, whatever, and so I don't remember where I was going with this, but what were we talking about?
I was listening and I can't remember either. It's getting a little late, we're going to use
sorry, but the way we do it works for us. There's some fields where I have to go physically, but what I'm finding is the guys like to set the birds with me.
Sure.
And because they'll go out there, their first 2 birds might fly up in their face, and then we're giving them a hard time, and they're feeling like crap because their flies off $15 or whatever. I make sure they feel bad.
Yeah. It's part of hunting. You gotta have a share of roasting each other a little bit.
And then I have their friend walk out there with them with his shotgun, so if the bird does fly off, his friend can shoot the bird. Whatever. Yeah, we try to have fun, and setting the birds is part of it, and it's fun, and chase. I've got guys who run out there through the green wheat field trying to get the bird to fly, 200 yards, and the bird just wants to run, and so they come back and they're all exhausted, and the bird's still running, but it's just all an experience,
So what is kind of the purpose, mission of Patriots? I mean, what is, you got a mission statement, and kind of how was that developed?
Well, Patriots of Praise, we were talking earlier, I got this friend Joe I met, 10, 11 years ago through the Kansas Ringneck Classic, which Brownback started.
Which, he was supposed to be sitting here at the table,
but
he backed out.
He wimped out on us. I'm sure I heard him say he'd sit down and talk.
I think it was 3 against 1 on that one.
But he's shy. But anyhow, I was there, and I was standing in the back of a social meet and greet, and I looked over, and here's Joe, and Joe got blown up in Iraq in 2005, and he's got challenges in life now. But he's got a great attitude. We have a lot of fun, and I built a relationship with Joe, and he got me excited, and I started doing just some hunts for fun with disabled vets, and we'd bring out a couple groups a year, and I had friends who had land out by Brewster or up at Hill City and Pinocchio area, and we'd just take guys in there and go hunt for fun. And then a couple of years after that, I had a real life change, and I grew up in church. I grew up in Christian radio, and I've always known about God and faith, and I just didn't always walk it. I've had a lot of struggles. I didn't transition good from the military, and my struggles were from choices I was making, and I really enjoyed the military. And when I found myself out, I really didn't transition well. And
I got a buddy of mine who was in the Corps, and you really bond with your unit in the military, and you have a job and you have a purpose, and you rely on the guy next to you to do his job and his purpose, and you both do your jobs perfect.
Right.
And you're there, brothers, you're there to get you home.
Right.
That's a bond. And it's something that civilians don't really, they can't grasp their hands around. And I only kind of understand it because of what my buddy has explained to me. But when he left the military and left that environment and had to go to work and to deal with the civilian population and the way that they buy on to their work and the way they dedicate their life to the work in comparison to what he had to deal with in the military, where he had to, if his buddy, your soldier mate, does not do his job, you're going to die.
Right.
And, there's just not that sense of urgency. There's not that sense of buy-in in the civilian population about their job. It's just not quite as serious to them. And he was always that's how he was.
Right.
Just to do his job that way. So he had a really hard time adjusting to that and just letting some of that stuff go every day and just carrying that around and, just being frustrated.
Right. And the adrenaline is a powerful thing. And, one day you're doing whatever you're doing in the military and the next day you're out,
it's hard to find that.
You can't replace that. When I turned 51, I went skydiving. I made 2 jumps. I went to class. I wasn't going to do the tandem. I was going to jump out of that airplane. And I found the adrenaline. Yeah. And if I lived somewhere close, I'd do that every week, and a lot of people don't understand that either, but it's just the way I am. And my wife sure doesn't understand it, why I want to go jump out of an airplane, but it's what it does to you, the rush of it. And so I had a lot of struggles and whatnot. And, I put my wife through a lot of grief, and I'm definitely blessed that she stuck with me, because I gave her many reasons, over the years to put my stuff at the curb. And we had our 41st anniversary this last November. And so I'm very blessed with that. But I had this real life change.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I went to this event called the Men's Encounter, and it's just a 3-day in your face, wake up, basically, which, men today need to wake up and get it. We need our tree rattled,
Mm-hmm.
And I went to that, and I didn't really buy in. I didn't, I gladly, where's my phone? Sorry.
We got some ducks in the room.
I'm hard of hearing, so I picked things that I could hear.
I told you about that selective hearing.
Right. Yeah. And so I went to this event, and, on Saturday night, they do a deal called Pass the Mic, and I didn't want to talk. I really didn't, just wasn't buying it. But we got home, and they had a welcome home deal. They had our families there. And when I stood up there and I looked at my wife, and I got to thinking about all the crap I had done and the pain and grief I'd caused her, it hit me hard. Well, I signed up for several more, and my dad was a recluse, so I have that in me, and I've always had the fear of man. So I'm a guy who took an F in every speech class because I could not get up there and do that. And I climbed in a truck for 14 years and just checked out. I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have any responsibility. I left it all on my wife, and that's part of my past I have to deal with. It's a struggle for me because, what kind of guy does that,
Well, and you don't get to take it back. That's
right.
the,
I missed all those years with my son and whatnot. But so the third one, they asked me if I would do a teaching on spiritual warfare. And I came across, where everything we do is either for or against the glory of God. And I sat down that night and I looked at my life and I was like, whoa, what a mess I've made. And that's where Patriots of Praise came from. So we started doing these hunts, and I bring guys out here, and I'm not a preacher, I'm not a counselor. I don't have the ability to save anybody, but what I do have the ability is to walk with you through the crap of your life, the choices you've made in the trenches, in the mud, to get dirty with you and work if you want help. And so on these hunts, on these weekends, I take guys hunting, but I like my garbage out there. I share my story, because the more real I am, the more apt you are to be real with me. And, it's hard. There's all these different things in my life I lay out every weekend, because if you see that I'm a real guy, I'm just as screwed up, or maybe more screwed up than you may talk to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And some nights guys don't talk at all, but on Sunday morning, they climb in the truck with me because they want to talk, or they call me on their way home. There's weekends we don't talk at all. There's weekends we talk all night. It just depends on the guys.
Well, and it's much like just introducing yourself to somebody, right?
Right.
If you go out of the way, you extend the hand first, more often than not, it comes back tenfold.
Right.
And when you're, trying to, we got the lucky short hair in here.
Yeah.
If you share first, like you said, it's a lot easier for guys to relate with you and find a reason to share something.
Right. So these guys are out here for a short time. So I get real quick with guys. I share how this house came about, the power of prayer, and just how this place came about, not for me, not because of Patriots of Praise, but because of them. So this is their place. And, and I've had guys call me who are struggling, and they come out and spend a week with me. I've had, there's a guy at Fort Leavenworth who sends me guys who are struggling. He orders them out here, and we just do life. I'm not a book guy. I don't sit down and do studies, but we go out, we fix fence, we clean pins, we do, we work, we do life together.
Yeah. And
we get dirty together, and that's kind of what we're about. I have a short video on PTSD we watch that wakes, really hits a lot of guys, because it's guys telling their story.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a song called Chain Breaker by Zach Williams. We put military video to it. And that's really what happened for me. We all, as men, we and women, people bury stuff deep. Things we've done, things we're ashamed of, we feel guilt over or whatever, and we bury it really deep. Well, then it binds us.
Yeah.
And it just weighs us down. The more of this crap we carry around, and then you're like, you have these thoughts, well, I'm not good enough because I did this or that or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And, but really, by getting things out and being open and honest about things, you can break those chains, because it's out. There's no more, doesn't have to be any more shame in it, unless you want to carry it around, which none of us want to do, and so by getting our garbage out here, you can really have a lot of freedom then, but you got to continue to believe it, and you got to continue to walk in it. You got to continue to grow in your faith. And, we don't push anything on anybody. We just serve guys, we feed them well. It doesn't cost anybody anything to come out here. If you don't have gas money, if you want to come, you're going to get here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you're here, so that's kind of why we do this. I've been down that road. I've carried all that shame and all that guilt, sat on the edge of the road in the middle of the night in a snowstorm and wondering, telling myself my family would be better without me. I felt that worthless, and there's a lot of people that way right now, the way our world is and the events going on, and
it's just driven more self-isolation and it's that camaraderie, even, the dinner we had tonight.
Right.
Just being able to sit down at the dinner table like that used to happen every single night in every single family. And I shared with you earlier, it'd been a couple months since I had that.
Right. When I was growing up, I didn't have a TV or anything, but, people would stop by and visit, and you'd pull out whatever you had in the fridge and you'd fellowship the rest of the afternoon, if you weren't working or whatever, and relationships are so important for us. Church, we're relational people. And when we start withdrawing, that's when, Satan really has a heyday. That's when we sit on the side of the road and say, man, my wife and kids would be better off without me.
Yeah.
You have those kinds, because you've let this stuff weigh you down. You've let the enemy win, and we're in a battle, whether people want to believe it or not.
Right.
This is a battle.
It's a spiritual battle.
It is,
and it's a spiritual battle for your soul, and that's eternity.
Right.
And that's something I think that, I don't know, since we're going there, I think, it's daunting. It's scary for people.
Right.
And I think that alone, that fear,
right,
keeps people isolated as well, because they're too afraid of some of the things that you said earlier, the stuff weighing them down.
Right.
They're not good enough anymore. And one thing I will share, I was raised Catholic. I went K through 12 Catholic school, and I got out of graduate high school at the kind of the peak of the priest molestation kind of era of when that was all kind of coming public. And it was very rocking to my faith and foundational core. And it took me a long time to want to go back to church. And I personally kind of came back to it. And 6 months later, my mom died. And it rocked me again. And then 6 months later, COVID hit. And now our church is closed.
Right.
And I found it honestly just really important being able to live with yourself.
Right.
And that's a really hard thing to do. And it came with sharing what I was going through with people. And I found in your scenario that sharing it with my hunting buddies, my fishing friends, people I was outdoors with, people that, didn't necessarily know my day to day.
Right.
It's hard to share that stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, first time it happened, it was not that easy. Second time was easier. And then by the time most of my good friends finally knew, it was off my chest.
Right.
And that's a perpetual snowball that it kind of creates. And getting people into this environment where they feel comfortable to do that and help kick that snowball off for somebody. And then bring in the faith element and draw that parallel, because I think it's very important. And I think there's something extremely spiritual about hunting and fishing. I'm going to reference fishing for a second, but God picked a bunch of fishermen. Jesus picked a bunch of fishermen to be his disciples. There's a reason for that.
Right.
And it's not necessarily has to do with the fishing, but it just has to do with the type of person that fishermen are.
Right.
And I think hunters can be ruled into that category as well. And bringing you back to the land, that close connection to God's creation is something that I think is really humbling to a lot of people, if you can get them to kind of see that all together. And when you bring people out to these environments, it's where the light bulb really comes on.
Right.
It's where you see the synapse finally come together,
Right.
And that's really, I don't know, the more and more as I age in life, and the more that I bring faith into my life, the more it gets back to me.
Right.
And it's a hard thing.
Right.
I'm far from perfect, and but it's a continuous struggle. It's that spiritual battle.
Right.
It's every day.
Right. So like when we first started this, I got a call from a guy in Lincoln, Nebraska named Ken Corcoran. And he's a highly decorated Vietnam vet. He got blown up also. And he had lots of struggles, but he has a deal called Post-Traumatic Growth Institute. And he has what's called the Ranch Ministries up by Pierce, South Dakota. And he brings, he was a Marine. He brings a lot of guys up there. But he called me and he's like, when can you and your wife come to Lincoln, Nebraska? And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm thinking. And I talked to Tammy. I said, we can be there Thursday night. Does that work? And he's like, sure. You'll stay at my place and we'll take care of the food. And so Tammy and I show up there Thursday night and we meet Ken and Liz. And Ken's a very much, he's not a time waster. I mean, he's to the point. He's got an agenda and he's gonna stick to it. And so we spent Thursday just showing us around, telling us, what all he's doing and with his stuff. And then Saturday morning we get up, we have breakfast. And we're sitting there talking, and Ken gets up, and he throws down 4 pads of paper. One for him, Liz, me, and my wife, Tammy. And he draws a line up and down, and he draws a line across, and he puts a plus up here and a minus and 0 to today. And Ken starts laying out his life highs and lows and different traumatic events, and Ken volunteered. He wanted to go to Vietnam. He wanted to be in the fight. And so he joins the Marines. He's in Vietnam. He gets blown up. Okay, so now his life is down. It's negative. And for 10 years, Ken struggled. I won't, it's not my place to tell you, but he struggled.
Yeah.
And then God got a hold of him and changed his life, and his wife, at one point I remember he told his wife, you might as well just divorce me because I'm not going to change. And she refused. She just kept praying. There's power in prayer. And now Ken, he reaches a lot of men. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this. Now I know where this is going. And I'm looking at Tammy and I'm starting to sweat, because I'm like, all right, I don't know these people. How real do I want to be? Because there's things that's happened in Tammy's in my life that nobody's ever known outside our bedroom, things I've done, pain I've caused, whatever it is. And I'm really sweating, and Liz goes and I'm guessing by now I'm wringing my shirt out. I don't know. It's just like, I'm sitting here, how real do I want to be? Because I've been so dishonest. Anytime you're in a life like I was, dishonesty is a major part of it. Whether it's pornography or alcohol or whatever your struggle is, you're denying it because you don't want people to know. There's always deceit behind every sin. And so it would have been very easy for me just to lay out the good life, But for some reason that day, I laid out all my garbage on that piece of paper. And in that instant, I was free because it was out. My wife, who knew all of it, but now 2 strangers who really know me because I laid my garbage there, and I was free from it. Now, in order for the enemy to bind me with that, I have to choose to let him. And so every weekend out here, I lay my garbage out because I refuse to be bound by it again. Now, don't get me wrong. There's days I really struggle. There's weekends out here where it's like, I'm tired, I'm beat up, I'm just not feeling good about myself, but I still share because, as men, if we share our successes, we build walls with other men. There's always a guy who catches the bigger fish, no matter how big a fish you caught. You're boastful, you're prideful, you're just, I'm not saying you shouldn't share successes, don't get me wrong, but, but if we share our failures, I'm building a bridge with these men, because I'm being real with them. They're going to more than likely be real with me. And so we, people have to belong before they believe.
Yep.
And they got to trust before they'll open up and, share. And so, that's pretty much what we do here every weekend, and what I have found through this is that every time I get the adrenaline rush I got when I was in the military, when I jumped out of that airplane. Joe and I, Joe, he causes me lots of grief in a fun way, And
I could tell a little bit.
A couple of years ago, we're at the gas station here in Waukene, and he's at one pump on one side, and I'm at the other pump on the other side, and I have that tan excursion that you saw, I've been around in, and before it was tan, it was white, and it was 6 inches taller.
Oh, geez.
It had 2
inch
inches.
It's already pretty tall.
It was a big, ugly truck, but I bought it that way because it was cheap, And so we're sitting there getting gas, and this guy pulls in on the other side of the pump from me, and Joe's like, he yells out, "Hey, dude, what are you overcompensating for with that big, ugly, jacked up truck?" And the first thing that came to my mind, Joe's burnt. When I first met him, his email was extra crispy. So Joe is just, he's a unique individual. And the first thing that popped in my head and unfortunately came out of my mouth was, "You're just jealous because you look like a piece of fried chicken and don't have any fingers." And at that point, our conversation went about, through the floor and out into the septic tank. And I looked over at this guy, and he's literally filling up his pickup, squatted down with his face in the fuel door, under, below the bed and below the gas tank, because he doesn't know what's coming next. And finally, Joe hollers across, I'm going to get you a T-shirt that says something about, you got your butt kicked by a cripple. And I started laughing. And I told the guy, I'm like, dude, we're really good friends. And he's like, he was relieved because he didn't know what was coming. You're in Western Kansas, guns are coming out, whatever. But through that, Joe came over, and it created an opportunity, to share what we do and why we do it, what we're about. And, the guy, he talked to us for 30 minutes. I gave him a hat. He made a donation, and down the road we all went, and I can leave here dead tired on Sunday or Monday, just exhausted after it all. And I'll be at the gas station and somebody will say, hey, tell me about your truck. What do you do? And in that instant, I'm energized. I'm charged to share what we do out here and why we do it, And, we do the last few years, when we first started this, I thought it was going to be mostly disabled vets. But I was wrong. I've been wrong on about 100% of what I've done here. God opened the door on Fort Riley, Fort Leavenworth, and now on Fort Carson. And so the majority of the guys come here are active duty combat guys, medevac pilots, medics. I've had a large group of guys from 10th Group out of Fort Carson, which are Special Forces guys. I've got guys coming out of Fort Leavenworth that are...
You were telling me something about watching those... Special Forces guys miss roosters. It's kind of fun.
It is so fun. I get these guys out here, and, I don't care who you are or what you've done. You put your pants on like me. Yeah. And if you're thin-skinned, you're at the wrong place. And the cool thing is, I very rarely pick up a shotgun. And the reason is I can talk all the smack I want, but as soon as I pick up the shotgun, the truth's out. So my shotgun stays in the farm or in the truck, and I might get out and block, but I never pull the trigger, right? We've had guys out here, and and these guys have seen and done a lot, and we have a different sense of humor. I'll tell them, this pheasant flies faster than a man runs, so you got to lead them a little more. But there's days where we have to come in at noon on Saturday and pull out the thrower, and I got a wobble thrower that rotates and wobbles, and just so guys can get on, because they're so these guys are good shots.
Oh yeah,
and so but there's days we have to get it out so they can get on their target, and
it's just a different set of skills.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a different weapon that, it's not a rifle. Right. They don't have the tack drive.
Right. So, like I said, a lot of these guys are active duty, and then we've really been blessed with some veterans, some Vietnam vets. I've had a couple Korean War veterans out here, men who've gave a lot, and we can learn a lot from them guys. I really like sitting and listening, and seeing what they got to say and hear about their experiences and how they overcame. And, some haven't, but most do. And so, that's kind of the story of what we are and why we do it.
What do you guys have left for the rest of the season here? You were in Arkansas when we were making plans here.
Right.
So you're not, were you born and raised in Kansas?
Well, no, yeah. I was born in Colorado.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, we moved to Newton, Kansas.
Sure.
Like fourth grade, whatever. And then I went in the Air Force, and then we ended up back here in Kansas. And then we moved to Hayes 30 years ago. We lived there for 30 years.
Okay.
In the same house. And then we've recently, we've moved to Batesville, Arkansas. And we have a son and grandkids there, and then we have another son in Buffalo, New York, and grandkids there. But I'm not moving to New York. It's a beautiful place in Western New York, but
sure.
I'm not going to deal. Anyway, we won't go down that road.
Yeah, it's just I prefer
staying away from the coasts.
Yeah, I
It's
like to go visit my grandkids.
There's too
and
many
hang
damn
out.
people. Period. I like to drive down a county road or a gravel road and wave to the one car that comes past me.
Right.
You know?
The cool thing is up there, though, we go every summer, and our son has a piece of property. It was an old mill on a river there, and used to have the paddle wheel. It was
Sure.
a flour mill, and it's about 30 minutes outside of Buffalo. It's very rural. And we sit there at the camper in the old mill, and the grandkids are in the river, and we're fishing. And it's like being out here. The people, they stop, they wave,
Oh, yeah.
they invite you over, they want to visit, they want to get to know you.
I think that's anywhere though that you get
It
away
is.
from a metropolitan area, and it's
Yeah.
like that.
Relationships important still there, yeah.
Yep.
And
Well, people rely on people.
right,
You know, how far are we away from the nearest grocery store?
right,
A little bit of a ways. You know,
Right.
It's a lot easier to call the neighbor, see if she has a little extra flour, right?
Right.
And those things are important, you know, all the way up to much bigger issues in life.
right. But so we've recently, we've moved to Batesville, and we've been praying for a couple of years for God to take us where He wants us and use us, and as long as we have this farmhouse, the ability to use it, we're going to continue to do hunts here every winter.
And for listeners, you know, if they have somebody who might be interested in this and is in the military, they want to know more about exactly when you guys are doing these things.
Right.
What is your season here? Because I know you have uncontrolled shooting. You've got a larger season or longer
We
season.
could hunt from September 1st to the end of March.
Yeah.
But
When are you here doing it?
I'm not a guy who wants to go walk through a field of dry weeds and stuff when it's 100 degrees out.
I hear you.
You know, I'd have to have 10 or 15 dogs to hunt.
Well, and you got Chessie. He ain't going to do it. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
He'll do it, but you're not going to get a lot of time out of him.
A quarter-mile walk through the grass and stuff with him would be the end of him for sure, you know, but he would do it. He's got the heart, but, you know, it's hard on me. It's hard on the guy. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
So we don't start hunting here till Uplnd weekend.
Okay.
Which is always the second weekend in November. And we bring guys in. Usually guys come in. We can do any lake to hunt but we usually have guys come in on Friday night and they leave out Sunday afternoon. You know, they come in here, we feed them dinner on Friday night. I share how this house came about and whatnot. And we get to know each other a little bit. We get up, have breakfast. We hunt hard all day and clean birds on Saturday night. I usually do a pulled pork on Saturday night, you know, and if you go away from her hungry, there's a problem. You know, my wife makes great desserts, and we always have plenty of food. You know, and then Sunday we get up and hunt, and guys usually take out some time after lunch on Sunday. Now, if it's a 3-day weekend for guys, we'll hunt all day Sunday, and they'll take out Monday afternoon, you know. And this year I didn't know how it was going to work, but I've got guys coming in Friday night. They're going to leave Sunday. I've got guys coming in Monday night who are going to hunt Tuesday and Wednesday all day, leave Thursday morning. I got another group coming in Friday night through Sunday. And then since Monday's the last day of the season, I've got guys coming in Sunday night. We're going to hunt Monday and then Tuesday, and then they'll go home. And then after that, I just have weekends again, you know. And living in Arkansas now, we're trying to figure out how it works. So when I first was doing it, we were going to come here for 2 weeks, go home for 2 weeks, come back, you know,
sure,
all winter long. But the last couple of years, everything's been messed up.
Yeah.
You know, family things, health things, whatnot. So I'm actually here for 4 weeks now, and I'm going to fill the house for 4 weeks if I can physically do it, you know.
Nice.
You know, I'm 61 years old. It's getting harder. I need to drop some pounds. You know, my wife saw me to do that. I just like to eat, though, some days, you know.
I can't blame you there.
Ice cream is just my killer.
Last night, Tyler and I stopped out for a burger and a beer, and I ate a double cheeseburger, and then I proceeded to order a second cheeseburger and fries, another meal, and I ate that damn thing last night.
Oh my goodness!
But I didn't eat all day, and I didn't really eat much the day before. I I was very hungry.
Right.
So, got to replace in calories when you're out here, you know. You burn them pretty quickly.
You do, you know. I used to give these guys, I have a friend, Matt. He's a Green Beret, and I met him. He was doing recruiting in Fort Riley for Special Forces, and so I had him here. He came out all the time for three years and brought guys and helped me, and now he's at Fort Carson. But they all wear these Garmin watches, you know, and so we'd get done walking, and they're like, yeah, man, we walk 12 miles a day. And I'm doing the math. Okay, this feels a half a mile long. That one's this. I'm like, there's no way we walk 12 miles today, you know. But so I was flying down to Texas for a deal, and I happened to sit by a Garmin guy, and I had a shirt on, and I took the opportunity to give him crap about his watch, basically his product, you know, because I told him about what I do and the guys, and I don't believe his watch is right, you know. Well, by the time we were done, I had a watch when I came off the airplane. He's like, you're going to find out. Well, what I wasn't taking account for is all the times back and forth, and, you know, all the times to the truck, and, you know, and all these different things. And then I get to watching my dogs. I walked 9 miles a day. My dog ran 50, you know, and I need to quit feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah, I started running a GPS collar on my dogs a couple of years ago, and I actually got this collar from SportDog through the podcast here, and I really started kind of honing in on. I wanted to find out how long my dogs are running, because that was the one thing when I'd track myself on an Onyx hunting app, and I walked 2 miles. Well, I'd look at the dogs' collars, and they went 5.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was this big discrepancy between me and the dogs. And when I started kind of tracking the dogs is what actually kind of how I found out a little bit more on what was the right time to rest the dog.
Right.
When like this little one right here next to us crashed out, she runs typically anywhere from, you know, like a quarter section to a section. Kind of if we're going to tackle that, she'll run, let's say both dogs, or the one dog went 5, she'll go 6.
Right.
So she runs, typically at about 10 to 15% more than the other dog.
Right.
And so I was always wondering why at the end of the day, this dog was getting tired.
Right.
Well, it makes, when you start tallying that up, now you got, 5 more miles on than the other dog. It makes sense why you're tired here at the end of the day, you know. It brought some clarity. Then I used to wear one of the pedometers, but I'm not a watch guy.
Well, I wasn't either, but now I find myself, the one that I really shouldn't watch is that's got like my body battery on there. And I'm like, man, I'm tired. It's at 0. I'm like, I got to go to bed. I have nothing left. I'm like, Tammy, look, I got to go to bed.
Perfect excuse.
I'm drained.
Well, what is that thing at right now? Your body battery.
My body battery right now, I don't know.
Is it 0?
It's 5.
It's 5.
Well, that means started out at 10 this morning.
Okay. Well, we got 50% yet.
Yeah. No. But
so we've kind of chatted about a few different things here, and I think you've done a really nice job explaining your organization and kind of what your mission is and who you're trying to help. How can people get in touch with you? If they want to donate, how do you operate? I guess maybe that's a better question. Are you a nonprofit and operate on donations? Yeah,
we're a 501c3, and so I'm a guy who believes, we've all been around where people really hammer you for money, and I believe believers aren't beggars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, I have needs, and I make my needs known, and I believe if God puts it on your heart and you're obedient, you'll do whatever you feel led to do, and I have a hard time asking, though, like putting my needs out there. Our biggest need really, like any nonprofit, is cash, because it takes cash to buy gas, to buy feed for birds, and just to buy food, because nobody pays anything that comes here. I don't know if
I think you kind of mentioned it, but,
it's free to whoever, and, So, there's shotgun shells. Some guy, we keep shotgun shells here for guys. Usually guys come here with their license, their personal stuff, and their shotgun and shells. We provide the lodging and the meals, the transportation if they want to ride with us. Everything. We clean the birds for them. A lot of guys want to learn how to clean their birds. They've never done it.
Yep. But, the lights don't stay on here for free.
Do what?
The lights don't stay on here for free in a sense, Maybe specifically with the house and things, the lights stay on here for through donation.
Right. Yeah, they do.
But,
I mean,
at the end of the day, none of this stuff shows up here for free.
Right.
And so that's what I was trying to get at. And I know that, it's being a humble person itself. It's tough to just ask people to help you.
Right.
I mean, it just is. And being a guy, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think it's a manly thing as well.
Yeah,
we don't like to ask for help.
Pride's tough. Yeah.
It's
our
tough.
biggest enemy. But, now that we're in Arkansas, we're going to, we were praying for God to use us. So, we just weren't getting anything. And I told Tam, we got to put our house on the market. We got to be all in, to go on wherever. And so we put our house on the market, and next day it sold, and
now we're all right.
And then it wasn't shortly after that, my wife's been praying to be close to grandkids. Our son in Batesville calls me, and he's asking me all these questions, and like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, wherever we're taking. And he's like, well, finally I said, what's on your mind? Quit beating around the bush. Tell me what you're thinking. He said, well, would you consider moving to Batesville? And that's a real that's a real answer to prayer for my wife and stuff. And so we moved down there. We lived in a trailer for a while. We're just going to camper and see what was on the market's stupid. We thought, well, we'll just ride it out, stay in a camper for a while. It's no big deal, And I went on a float trip with him and my son and my 5-year-old grandson down the White River for trout. And I'm floating down that river because I've been praying about, Patriots of Praise. What could I do there? And I'm floating down this river, and we were talking about fishing and fishermen, and I'm looking around, and and you're looking at that rainbow trout, and you're watching the eagles, and and there's just really no way I can say that even think this happened with a big bang. There's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a ringneck pheasant or a bobwhite quail, a duck. Look at a wood duck. Even those ugly mergansers over there, but you know what I'm saying? They're just amazing, and I'm floating down that river and I'm thinking, wow, what a better way to fish for men than while we're fishing for trout floating down the river. I can bring 3 guys in. Since we got down there, God's provided us a great house, way bigger than we ever thought we were going to have. And, here we lived in Hayes. We drove 45 minutes there. Now we're going to use the basement of this house. It's got 3 bedrooms and a living area and a kitchen and bathrooms. It walks out onto an outdoor living area and a pool. And I can only have 3 guys. I got 3 bedrooms, and they've provided us a G3 boat now. And we're going to fish for men for, we can do that when I'm not here hunting in the winter, and we can do it in the summer. And Tammy and I, for the last several years, have been praying about doing with military married couples, use our marriage and some material from Family Life called Vertical Marriage, and bring 2 or 3 couples in for a weekend and go through, basically sit down with them and share our marriage story, our struggles, and how if you're willing to stick in and fight and get help. I was always too proud to go get counseling, but why wouldn't you want to go get counseling if you're married, if it'll make it better? Even if you're not having problems, why not? Why do you not want it better? And so, you're going to use that house there. We're going to use this house here, and we're going to use the White River, and we're going to use pheasants, and we're going to reach men and married couples and families. And, through this, Tammy and I have 2 sons together, and through this, we have 20 more.
Yeah.
We have extended families through this. We have, families that we do life with. We know their kids. We, when they hurt, we hurt. When they deploy, I pray for them like I pray for my son who's in the Air Force. He was in the Army, and he's a pilot. And it's their family.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been so blessed through this that, with great relationships with men and their families. And, it's been really good.
I get a sense of just ultimate richness.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't, your listeners aren't here, but I can kind of like you kind of were radiating this through the conversation that I don't know how to really define it. It's like looking at a guy that's got way too much money, I mean, I know you don't have way too much money, but you're glowing, the richness in life. And I think that you're hitting it with just a harmony that's,
yeah.
It's very infectious.
Yeah, Tammy and I've, we've worked hard, and I had some health issues in, I don't know, 2014 or whatever, and I sat down and I was with Tammy, and I this was a life or death thing, and and I'm looking at that, and I said, Tammy, we either believe what we've been preaching or talking, not preaching, but or we don't. And so I went into that with the attitude of, hey, this is a win-win deal for me. What am I? I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be worried, because I either stay or, I believe I'm going to go to heaven and spend eternity there, and so we went into it with that attitude. And then at some point in there, I'm like, Tammy, when is enough enough? When are we going to be content? And that was a life-changing deal. We sat down and we looked at things, and excuse me, and we decided, okay, we can retire at 59 and a half. Well, I retired at 58, and Tammy retired at 59 and a half. And we're content where we're at. And we just, we found that joy comes from serving other people. And, let me tell you a little story here. Like, several years ago, I was getting ready to do, this is Unit 4 in a turkey hunting area here. Okay. So it's a draw area, but kids can, 15 and under can come in here and shoot a turkey. So we started doing Gold Star kid turkey hunts.
Sure.
And I had this brother and sister coming, and their grandpa was bringing them and whatnot, but we had a power outage 2 weeks before I didn't know about. And I show up the night before these kids are showing up, and I'm like, man, my potatoes went bad, and I opened the fridge and it was like, oh no. And I figured out that the wires had sparked and the breaker had blown. And so I had this house stunk. The freezer downstairs had, 100 and some pounds of meat in it. My fridge up here had pheasants and food in it. And we get it out and we make a mess getting stuff out, and we start cleaning, and then people started hearing about it. And the next Friday morning, the people that own this house, they call me and they're like, hey, go to Sears and Hayes and get you a new refrigerator. You need a refrigerator out there, and so I go in there, and for the price of the refrigerator, I was able to get a freezer and a refrigerator. And then a farmer called me over here and he gave me a bunch of hamburger, and some people in Medicine Lodge gave me a bunch of hamburger, and pretty soon I have too much hamburger. So I started giving hamburger away and to church groups, to youth groups who were doing fundraisers, or maybe they were going to have a chili feed or what, I just started, people I knew who needed, I just kept getting more and more and more. And in the Bible, it talks about anything that Satan destroys, the Lord will restore sevenfold. And he showed me that through something as simple as hamburger. Because the more hamburger I gave away, the more I had. And it was just a continuous flow. And I was looking for places, people, whatever, to get rid of this because I just continually had too much. And so, that's kind of, I don't know why I shared that, but it's just proving to me, that the more you and I give away to others of our time, of ourselves, the more filled and more enriched we are, and the more we feel the love. And anyway.
No, I think that's a really good place to kind of wrap things up. I really do, because I as a guide and leading people into fishing and kind of feeling compelled to be fishers of men.
Right.
And just, well, you guys are pointing at something.
Give me that lure. So when you're fishing with guys, okay, I have these in my trucks, and it's just a nasty, ugly fishing lure. So somebody always asks me about it. I bait guys with all kinds of things, and this fishing lure is one. So when this fishing lure is going through the water, right, it's spinning, it's pretty.
It's a buzz bait.
Yeah, it's enticing to that fish, right? And he comes up and he nibbles and he nibbles and he nibbles and he nibbles at this bait until he can't take it anymore. And then he takes the bait. And what's under all that? The hook.
Yep.
Death, right? And so in our lives, this is what Satan does to us. You know, he can take something perfect God made. I mean, my wife, when we were dating, and because of where I was at, or because whatever's going on, we nibble, we take, just like the fish, he's enticing us with whatever it is, because he knows our weaknesses, and, it could be something really simple, but it becomes an obsession.
Mm-hmm.
And we nibble at what he's luring us with, attracting until we can't take it anymore, and we take the bait,
mm-hmm.
and that leads to death.
Yeah. And
so, you can use this stuff anywhere, and it's not, you're just sharing simple truths, and we're not forcing anything down. We're just sharing truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely can relate. I had a buddy of mine who recently was having some struggles at home with his wife, and I personally kind of looked at the situation, and he was pointing the finger at his wife a lot. And he's a good friend of mine, and I don't know if he listens to the show or not, but he's going to stay nameless. I don't think anybody will figure it out. But I had to, because he's a guy. If he was just acquaintance, there's only so far you can go with people. But I knew that I could be honest with this guy, and I just kind of flat out told him, I don't think the problem's your wife. I think you got to look in the mirror. And he had to, do a few things like your good old fishing lure there to kind of explain it to him. And I'm really happy for him. At least he went and got help, and he was drinking too much, and he went to AA. And what I found out of all of that, though, a couple of weeks ago talking to him, he went to both AA and some outpatient therapy that didn't include the Lord in kind of the recovery path. And he just 100% hands down says AA, there's something there, and it's the connection with God. It's the fact that it gives you a sense of purpose. The outpatient therapy for this, it's absent of that, and it's almost we don't need to really go there. But he's the kind of what your point is that the temptation, everything else, and it's all kind of there for you if you want to look at it. But we're all battling stuff, and it's a struggle in life. We talked about it earlier. It's a battle for your soul.
Yeah, and it's
and sharing these things. If you can help one person just by sharing,
it's not about what we say. It's about how we act and how we live our lives, who we really are, and because we've all been around people say one thing on Sunday, and during the week they're living their life another way, and
probably all can look in the mirror and say we've done it,
and so we have to truly model it and show it and believe it and serve people and love, and I can't judge anybody. I've got my own bat bag, full of backpack full of crap, and
I who live in glass house shall not cast stones.
Yeah.
I can also relate to just the richness in giving back. I was kind of trying to explain with the fishing guide story. Like I'd do it for free if I could. I literally would do it for free if I could, because there's a lot of joy and gratification in watching these people do something that I take for granted all the time.
Right.
And that's really, I think, what it is humbling, and it's, like I said, I could do it for free, but the boat doesn't show up there for free. And I haven't fully taken on the 501c3.
Right.
And I kind of like the gig I got going on right now. I can cut you a discount if I need to, but we're just making enough to get the boat to the water.
There's weekends, my checkbook's on zero here, but I continually book hunts. We're called to live on faith. And if I'm not going to live on faith, I don't, I have to live on faith. And I continually have every week the money to buy food, to buy to birds and gas and whatever we need. It's always there. Maybe, it might be exactly what I need. It might be a little more. Sometimes it's a lot more, but we run this on faith. We're not, I'm just not very good at promoting it. I need help, like I'm not a technology guy. So if anybody ever wants to take over my Facebook and do all that stuff, I'd gladly let them. I'm just not who I am.
I'll be terribly honest. I could do the same. I've gotten fairly savvy with it just by force and brute, failure, brute strength and failure.
So you asked me earlier how guys get a hold of us and stuff. And, we have a Facebook page. We have a website. It's patriotspraise.org.
Got an email address.
Yeah.
And, telephone number. I'm going to include all of that information in the show notes. Is there a preferred way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, people can call me.
Any of them?
Yeah. Leave me a message, text me, whatever, email me. If people just need to talk, call me, leave me a message. If I've gotten in trouble quite a bit for talking at 2:00 in the morning to people. So leave me a message. I'll call you back, unless you're really struggling, keep calling. We do what we got to do. If we need to get in the car and drive somewhere, we'll get in the car. That's what it's about.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place here. There's mounts. There's a big old black bear behind Tyler over there, smiling, listening to us. It's great. It's a great place. Honestly, I pulled up here and when we were here in December, I think we stopped to check on something or drop something off when we were over this way. And when I walked in here, I was like, holy, it doesn't look this big from the outside.
Right.
Amazing? It is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful place. And I'm very gracious for you guys to open up the door for me tonight. And have an opportunity to sit down and chat with you guys. And I'll make sure that I include all of the information in the show notes. And I can't urge the listeners enough that, if they have an interest in getting involved here, we do have some listeners from Kansas. Yeah. So if they want to come out and give you a hand with anything, I reach out to Scott. And if you know anybody who might take advantage or want to take advantage of this, or maybe could use this kind of setting, and get in touch with Scott. He'll hook you up with how to get out here. Right.
And if there's couples that want us to come in and share our story and do the material, we'll go places. Tammy and I, we're retired. How we ever had time to work, I don't know. Retirement's a myth.
You got hobbies though,
huh?
You have hobbies.
Oh yeah,
Well, do you know the guys that retire and sit around with their thumb up their ass all day long and complain about nothing to do? Those are the guys that don't have any hobbies.
Yeah.
You're an outdoorsman. You got plenty of hobbies.
Yeah, I got
every outdoorsman I know that's retired. Yeah. They're busier than they were when they were working.
Right,
and it's just the truth.
Yeah,
but you're getting to do what you love now, and that makes it really busy.
Yeah, it's fun. So anyway, well, thanks for.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and we'll include all this stuff, and hopefully. Somebody was listening to the podcast and was able to take something from today's episode, and hopefully somebody comes out here and has a blast, and maybe somebody opens up their checkbook as well. Yeah. Those are all nice things to happen.
Right.
I can wish. right?
Right.
You don't need it. You can sit there and smile and nod and be humble. But let me urge somebody to at least get in touch with you, because you guys are really quality guys out here, and I think more of this is needed all around.
Even though Joe stiffed us tonight.
Yeah, he's over there smiling.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks
Sounds
again,
good.
Scott, for coming on the show.
That's a wrap on number 40. That's really kick-ass, folks. I can't urge you enough to hit the show notes. You need to do two things. Number one, go check out Scott Anderson, Patriots of Praise. Either you know somebody that might benefit from Scott's organization, or you may know somebody who wants to get involved and donate, or maybe just go out and work and help Scott out for the day. So, check that little bit of down there in the show notes. There's a link for Patriots for Praise. Scott's number, if you feel compelled, he's the type of guy, just give him a holler. Remember that long-winded conversation we had at the beginning about Patreon. My last plea, a little urge, if you held in this long, scoot on over to the bottom where it says support the show, and click the link. Subscribe to the VIP level, become a VIP patron over at Patreon, and get in, that opportunity to win the pants. But moreover, you're here this long, support the show, please. I'd love to be able to build a better relationship with the people who are still listening at this point. The music is done. I'm going to wrap with join your local conservation effort. Get involved. Take someone new on your next adventure in the outdoors. You'll find some gratification in it. I promise. This is Brian Mays. I'm signing out. Be safe, be cool, be good most of all. God bless you, your family. God bless this country. We'll see you in the next episode. It'll be soon, I promise. Not as long as the last time.